Right, I get a lot of people ask me about my knee issue. If you don't know, I had patella tendinitis in my right knee. It's flared up a couple of times now. The first time I was able to get rid of it or manage it whilst continuing with my training. However, the second time round wasn't the case. So I wanted to do a video on my experience with it because it's a very common injury that comes around, how I managed it, and potentially some points that you can take away to help you with the same issue if you're having something similar. Firstly, a little disclaimer. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a chiropractor, I'm not a sports therapist, I'm not any of those things. I'm just talking about my own experience. That is it. And following on from that point, the first thing you should do if you're suffering from prolonged pain is go and see a specialist. Somebody that knows what they're talking about, that can help you narrow down what the problem is. Because it may not be patella tendinitis. You may have knee pain, yes, but it might not be patella tendinitis, it might be something else. I'll tell you where the pain was coming from for me. It was the bottom of my kneecap. So you've got the hard part of your kneecap, the soft tissue underneath. When you have your legs straight, if you touch the bottom of it there, it was quite painful at that point. And it was painful for me at the bottom of a squat position. So if you're suffering from something similar, it could be the same thing maybe. So after seeing a specialist, you'll be able to narrow down what the problem is. If it is patella tendinitis, they'll probably give you some exercise to do. But again, I'm going to talk about what I did to rehab my knee. Firstly, this is going to hurt some of your egos, but you've got to stop doing movements that are causing you pain. At the end of the day, it's those movements that are causing you pain that are continuing the problem, and it's only prolonging it even further and potentially making it worse. So if you can have a short period of time off training movements that cause it pain, then in the long run, you're going to be able to train for much longer, injury-free. So for me, I took 8 weeks off training any quad movements. Whilst I took those 8 weeks off, I rehabbed it. So the things that I did were firstly, walking backwards on a treadmill. And that could either be a stationary treadmill, so you're using the resistance of the treadmill itself, or you can turn the treadmill on and obviously just walk as it's moving. And also a heavy sled pulls. So I was quite lucky at my gym, they've got a sled with some weights and an AstroTurf strip. And I was doing backwards sled pulls, which really helps the knee joint. Next thing I did was Spanish squats, and you can use a thick resistance band for these, tie it around something, sit down in the squat position, just hold it for 10 seconds, come back up, and then back down into the position again, hold it for 10 seconds again, and just repeat that for about a minute or two. The next point was I was on top of my stretching and flexibility, mainly quads, hip flexors and hamstrings. So if you're not sure what stretches to do, literally just look them up on YouTube. There's so many, but here's some examples as you can see. And the final thing I did was isometric holds on the leg extension. This is basically where you get into a leg extension, put it on a really light weight, contract your quad, but don't lock your knee out. You want a slight bend in your knee, about that much. And then just hold that position for about a minute. Now, with all of those things, they will hopefully work for you, but you've got to be consistent with them. Don't just do it for a week, not see any results instantly and then give up. It needs to be a case of doing them day in, day out. Yes, it's boring, but you've got to ask yourself, do you want to fix your knee or not? And then after a while, hopefully the pain will be reduced and you can slowly start to incorporate some quad-based movements back into your program. Don't go full balls to the wall volume, taking every set to failure and including fucking 10 sets of quads straight back in after doing that rehab work. No, it's a case of slowly reintroducing some quad work, making sure you're not taking anything to failure and making sure you're doing movements that are pain-free. Now, yes, you may feel a tiny bit of pain still. It's probably not going to go instantly after just, 8 weeks of rehab. Mine definitely didn't. However, one thing that my sports therapist said to me was, you can judge if you push yourself too hard based on how sore you feel the next day. So I reintroduced quad movements back in, and if I was feeling particularly sore the next day around my knee area, I knew that I pushed myself too hard. But 99% of the time I was good to go the next day because I was just slow and gradual with my increases. I didn't just throw everything straight out the gate as soon as I finished my rehab work. And that is basically everything I did. And now I'm at the point where the pain is nearly completely gone. I'm able to train all quad movements. I've just got to make sure that I'm not pushing myself too hard to the point where it's really painful the next day. One more thing to note is, if finances aren't really an issue for you, I would definitely continue with the tissue work, and that's really going to help release some of the tight muscles around that area. And obviously you can just continue to get advice from your sports therapist to help with the issue further. But I hope that helped. If you've got any questions at all, please let me know. I hope you have a good day.